The ballroom smelled like old money and fresh cruelty. 300 people in designer gowns and tailored suits, and every single one of them was laughing at Naomi Briggs. Not behind her back, not in whispers, out loud, with their champagne flutes raised like she was the evening's entertainment. Her stepsister had done it on purpose, announced Naomi's dress size into a live microphone, called her the charity case cousin who crashed the gala. The laughter came in waves, cruel, rehearsed, the kind that comes from people who've never once been hungry or humiliated or told they didn't belong. Naomi stood frozen at the base of the grand staircase, 200 steps to the exit, a room full of wolves between her and the door. She told herself not to cry, not here, not in front of them. And then silence, not gradual silence. Instant, like someone had cut the power to every voice in the room. She looked up. He was standing at the top of the staircase. Dark suit, eyes like cold obsidian. The most feared man in Seoul's criminal empire, and he was staring directly at her. COJ1 descended the stairs one slow step at a time, and he didn't stop until he was standing beside Naomi Briggs. If you love powerful, emotional stories that hit different, subscribe right now. You do not want to miss where this goes. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. COJ1 didn't acknowledge the crowd, didn't scan the room with the practiced arrogance of a man who needed an audience. He simply stood beside Naomi like the decision had already been made, like the rest of the world was just catching up. Walk with me, he said. Quiet. Absolute. Naomi's pulse detonated. I don't know you. No, he agreed. But they do. And right now, that's what matters. She didn't understand it. Couldn't process it. This man, whose name made senators nervous and made entire city blocks go quiet as motorcade passed, was offering her his arm in front of 300 people who had just finished humiliating her. She took it, not because she trusted him, because her legs were shaking and her pride was bleeding out on the marble floor, and she had exactly zero other options. The moment her hand touched his sleeve, the laughter died permanently. Her stepsister Camille stood 3 tables away, her face cycling through shock, fury, and something that looked almost like fear. Good. Naomi filed that look away like a receipt. J1 walked her to a private balcony off the main hall. 2 of his men materialized from nowhere and sealed the entrance behind them. The city stretched out below, glittering, indifferent, alive. What? Naomi asked, the single word she couldn't hold back. He stood at the railing, hands clasped, jaw tight. A long silence stretched between them like a test. Your stepfather owes me $40 million, he said finally. He sent you tonight as a distraction, to keep me occupied while he wires money to a competing family. You turned to look at her then, really look at her. He used you as bait, and he didn't even warn you. The air left her lungs. She'd known her stepfather was reckless, known he was in debt, but bait? She was a prop, a human decoy, the charity case cousin, sent to a wolf's den wearing the wrong dress and no weapons. So you helped me because you felt sorry for me, she said. The bitterness came out sharp and automatic. Something shifted in his expression, just barely. I helped you, he said, because your stepfather made a mistake treating you like you were disposable. A pause. I don't like waste. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't warm. But from a man like COJ1, it landed like a declaration. Naomi looked at the city below and made herself breathe. What happens now? Now, he said, you become very valuable to me, whether you want to be or not. By morning, the story was everywhere. COJ1 and a mystery woman at the Kwan Charity Gala. The photos were blurry but damning. His hand at the small of her back, her face tilted up toward his, the 2 of them sealed off from the party like royalty. Naomi's phone had 47 missed calls from her stepfather. She didn't answer a single one. She sat in the hotel suite J1's team had arranged for her. She hadn't asked for it, hadn't agreed to it, but when his assistant had said, Mr. CO has made arrangements, Naomi had been too exhausted to argue. The suite was bigger than her apartment. The bathroom alone had heated floors. A knock at the door. Not gentle. She opened it to find J1 already dressed, dark slacks, no tie, the top button of his shirt open. He carried 2 coffees like it was a normal morning. It was not a normal morning. Your stepfather is going to come for you, he said, walking past her into the suite like he owned it. He probably did. He knows you saw me last night. He'll assume you told me about the wire transfer. I didn't even know about the wire transfer until you told me. I know that. He set 1 coffee on the table in front of her. He doesn't. Naomi stared at him. So, I'm in danger because of a conversation I had with you that I didn't ask to have about a crime I didn't know was happening. Yes. That's insane. That's Tuesday, he said flatly. Despite everything. Despite the fear crawling up her spine and the 24 hours that had turned her life inside out. Something almost like a laugh rose in her throat. She crushed it. What do you want from me? She asked. He looked at her directly. No games. No softening. Your stepfather will try to contact you. When he does, you tell me. Every word. That's all. And in return, you stay untouched. His voice dropped a register. No one in this city will look at you the way they did last night. Not ever again. It should have felt like a threat. It felt like something else entirely. She picked up the coffee. I want that in writing. For the first time, something flickered in his expression. Not quite a smile, but close. You're not afraid of me, he observed. I'm terrified of you, she corrected. I'm just more terrified of being someone's prop again. The flicker became something steadier. Something she couldn't name. He left without another word. But at the door he paused. Naomi, his back still to her. Your stepfather told everyone that dress didn't fit you. A beat of silence. He was wrong about that too. The door closed. She stood in the heated suite, heart hammering, and tried to remember the last time anyone had defended her. She couldn't. This story is about to go somewhere you're not expecting. Subscribe and hit the bell, because the next chapter changes everything. 2 weeks. 2 weeks of carefully controlled proximity. Jiwon's driver picking her up when her stepfather's men got too close. Brief meetings in glass-walled offices where Naomi passed along scraps of information, and Jaewon gave nothing back except safety and that quiet, unnerving attention. She told herself it was transactional. She was a useful source. He was a powerful shield. Simple math. Then she found the photograph. It was in the folder his assistant had accidentally left in her car. Financial records, property deeds, and then, tucked between documents like someone had forgotten, it was there, a photograph of a woman, black and white, late 20s, smiling wide at the camera with the kind of joy that looked like it cost her nothing. Written on the back in faded ink, Mina, Chicago, 2009. Naomi brought it to Jaewon that evening, set it on his desk without comment. His reaction was immediate and total. Every controlled, armored thing about him went still and then tighter, the way steel cables look right before they snap. Where did you get this? Not a question. A command wrapped in barely contained something. Your assistant's folder, she said. It fell out. I wasn't looking for it. He stared at the photograph for a long moment. His jaw worked. Who was she? Naomi asked quietly. The silence stretched so long she thought he wouldn't answer. My sister, he finally said. She was killed 15 years ago. By the same family your stepfather is now funneling money to. The room rearranged itself. Everything clicked into terrible, perfect focus. Why he was watching her stepfather so closely. Why he'd been at that gala specifically. Why he'd stepped in when her stepfather used her. This wasn't just business. This was 15 years of patience waiting for one moment to detonate. He doesn't know you know, Naomi said slowly. No, and she stopped, swallowed. Am I still just useful to you? Or was I ever actually safe? He looked up from the photograph, really looked at her, not with the cold, calculating attention she'd come to expect, with something raw and unguarded that he clearly hadn't meant to show. You're the only person in 2 months who has made me feel something other than the plan, he said. Each word came out like it was being pulled from somewhere deep and protected. That terrifies me more than anything in this city. She didn't move, didn't breathe. Then maybe, she said softly, we're both trapped in something we didn't choose. He stood up, crossed to her side of the desk, stopped close enough that she could see the tension in his throat, the controlled devastation in his eyes. Naomi. His voice was low. Careful. When this ends, and it will end violently. I need you somewhere they cannot reach you. I'm not going anywhere. It's not a request. I know. She held his gaze. It still isn't happening. The first real thing she'd ever seen break across his face. Not a smile exactly. Something older, warmer, like a light turning on in a room that had been dark a very long time. He started leaving things. Not gifts. Jiwon wasn't the flowers and ribbons type. But Naomi would find her coffee already made when she arrived at the safe house. The book she'd mentioned once in passing, appearing on the nightstand. Her name removed from the gala's published guest list, like someone had reached into the internet and quietly erased her exposure. She noticed everything, said nothing, because saying something would make it real, and if it was real, she'd have to decide what to do with it. The deciding was the dangerous part. Her stepsister Camille showed up on a Thursday. She appeared outside the safe house with a face full of theatrical worry and a story about their stepfather being threatened, about the family needing Naomi to come home, about we're sorry, we didn't mean it, please, we need you. Naomi stood in the doorway and felt nothing. No pull, no old grief, just clarity. You sent me to that gala to distract a crime lord, Naomi said. You knew what he was. You knew what Dad was doing. And you dressed me up like a sacrifice and aimed me at him. Camille's expression faltered. You could have warned me, Naomi continued. You didn't, because it didn't matter if I came back. Naomi, go home, Camille. She closed the door. Behind her, Jae-won's voice. She was recording the conversation. Naomi turned. He was leaning against the wall, arms crossed, watching her with something that looked dangerously close to pride. I know, Naomi said. I said what I said. He was quiet for a moment. You've changed. You gave me something to stand on. She met his eyes. I did the rest. He crossed the room in 4 steps, stopped in front of her, close enough that every nerve in her body went electric. I need to move against your stepfather this weekend, he said. It will be loud. It will be final, and you cannot be near it. But I'm not losing you, he said. The words came out rough, stripped of all armor. Not to his mistakes, not to his debts, not to any of it. You don't belong in that wreckage. Her breath caught. Jae-won, his name in her mouth felt like a door opening. Don't, he said quietly. Don't what? Don't say something that makes it harder to let you walk out of here safely. His hand came up, just barely, and brushed the line of her jaw. A touch so careful, almost wasn't there. Not yet. She understood. Not yet. But yet was a promise. And from a man who never made promises, it was everything. The call came at 2 a.m. Not from Jae-won, from his second in command, Min Jun, voice flat and precise. There's been a complication. Mr. Seo is asking for you. The safe house had been hit. Not destroyed, but breached. Someone had fed her location to her stepfather's contacts, and the responding team had arrived to find evidence of a setup, a planted recording device, a compromised window, and her stepfather's fingerprints all over the operation. Camille's visit hadn't just been a recording mission. It had been reconnaissance. Naomi arrived at the secondary location to find Jae-won standing in the center of a stripped warehouse, jacket off, a cut along his forearm he hadn't bothered to address. 3 of his men stood around the perimeter. The energy in the room was a coiled wire one breath from snapping. He turned when she entered. Something crossed his face, fast, unguarded, immediately contained. Relief, raw and overwhelming and gone in an instant. You're not hurt, he said. I'm Fine. You're bleeding. It's nothing. It's something. She crossed to him without thinking, took his arm, examined the cut with hands that were steadier than she felt. He let her. That alone told her everything. She sold me out, Naomi said. It wasn't a question. Your stepfather offered her the house in exchange for your location. She agreed. His voice was even, controlled. She could feel the fury underneath it like heat through glass. He planned to use you as leverage against me, to stop me before I could move against him. He thought you cared enough about me to stop. The silence confirmed it. Does he have reason to believe that? She asked softly. Jae-won looked down at her. The warehouse felt very small. Every reason, he said. And then his phone rang, and the last wall came down. The call was a threat. Her stepfather's voice on speaker, cold and corporate, Back off the wire transfer, or I will make sure Naomi Briggs doesn't make it to morning. The room went arctic. Jae-won's voice, when it came, was the quietest thing Naomi had ever heard from him. Quieter than anger. Quieter than warning. You just made the last mistake of your life. He hung up, turned to Naomi. Trust me, he said, not as a question, as a request, the first real one he'd ever made. She looked at him, this man who had stepped beside her when the whole room was laughing, who had learned her coffee order without asking, who had said not yet like it was a vow. Completely, she said. The operation took 6 hours. Naomi didn't see it. Jae-won had sent her to a secured location with Min-jun and explicit instructions. Stay, wait, don't move. And for once, she didn't argue. Not because she was afraid, because she understood what this night meant to him. 15 years of a grief so heavy it had become architecture, holding up everything he'd built. She didn't want to interrupt his closure. She waited. At 5 a.m., the door opened. Jae-won walked in like a man who had set down something he'd been carrying for half his life. No yakit, shirt untucked, eyes clear in a way she hadn't seen before. Washed clean of something that had been there since the night they met. It's done, he said. Naomi crossed him. No hosetashin. She took his face in both hands, those soft, capable hands he'd once called wrong for a gala, and made him look at her. Are you okay? She asked. He covered her hands with his. His were cold from the night air and slightly unsteady. I don't know what I am, he said honestly. Without the plan, without the 15 years of waiting, I don't know what's left. I know what's left, she said. He searched her face. You, she said, whatever you're underneath all of it. That's what's left. The first full breath she'd ever seen him take. Deep. Real. He pulled her in. Not dramatically. Not the way it happens in films. Quietly. Forehead to her temple, arms wrapped around her like she was the thing he was protecting now, the mission that came after the mission. I don't know how to do this, he admitted into her hair. Any of this. Neither do I, she said. We'll be terrible at it together. Something between them shifted, cracked open, and let the light in. They didn't announce it, didn't broadcast it. COJ1 simply stopped coming to rooms without Naomi Briggs beside him. And the city, which had learned long ago to read his silences, understood exactly what that meant. Her stepfather faced federal charges. Camille disappeared to somewhere quiet and distant. The house, the money, the manufactured prestige, all of it unraveled without Naomi's invisible labor holding it together. Naomi launched her own financial consulting firm. Small, precise, formidable. She named it Mina & Company and told no one why. Jae-won understood without asking. They were not a fairy tale. They were two people with scars choosing each other with full information, knowing the weight, knowing the risk, choosing anyway. The moral. The world will try to define you by the room that laughed at you. It will use your softness against you, mistake your silence for agreement, and hand you a role you never auditioned for. But your value is never up for their vote. The right person doesn't rescue you from the room. They stand beside you in it and let the room figure out its own mistake. Know your worth before anyone else announces it. And never, never let someone else's cruelty become your ceiling.